Hey, what's up, guys? I'm here in Toronto at the Hockey Hall of Fame. It is a beautiful building that was being renovated while we were there. But as of June 18, 1993, this is the Brookfield Place building, a magnificent construction that was built in 1885 as the head office of the Bank of Montreal at the time. And before that, it was held at the Canadian National Exhibition. The Hockey Hall of Fame opened on August 26, 1961 at the CNE, and its inaugural year. The Hockey Hall of Fame drew over 750,000 visitors. That is insane. And as of 1993, once again, they're here at the Brookfield Place building. That was renovated at a cost of $27 million. It was one of the few buildings to survive Toronto's Great Fire of 1904. And its first year of operation at its new location, it drew more than 500,000 guests. So we're going to do a quick tour so you can see what it looks like. The Hockey Hall of Fame is the mecca of hockey around the world. It's in Toronto, Canada. The birth of the Hockey Hall of Fame is actually in 1943 officially, so it's now over 81 years of age. So a few fun facts. As of 2024, there are 299 individual players that were inducted. The Toronto Maple Leafs are the team with the greatest number of player inductees of an original six team with 64. Rangers, the Boston Bruins, the Detroit Red Wings, and the Chicago Blackhawks. So the greatest number of player inductees by position is 89, and that is for defensemen. Ontario holds the record for the greatest number of player inductees by province of birth with 128. 251 Canadian-born players are inducted in the Hockey Hall of Fame, 15 American-born and 13 European-born players. So as we're looking here at the NHL goaltending records, the majority of them being set by Martin Brodeur. He was from the New Jersey Devils, of course, a Hockey Hall of Famer. I remind you that the Hockey Hall of Fame has the finest collection of hockey artifacts known to man. If you like hockey in any way, shape, or form, you absolutely have to visit this. Just look at this jersey, for example, worn by Maurice Richard in his final year of play in 59-60. He finished his career as the leading goal scorer and point scorer with a total of 965 points. He was known as the Rocket, and the Rocket Richard Trophy for the NHL's top goal scorer was named after him. So as you go through the Hockey Hall of Fame, you're going to find a lot of artifacts and championship winning sticks or pucks and important moments like this here. This is the 500th goal of Maurice Rocket Richard, or this here. This is the actual original goal when Wayne Gretzky surpassed Gordie Howe with 802 goals, surpassing Gordie Howe's record at the time. This was on March of 1994, and so Gretzky surpassed Gordie Howe's goal scoring record. He would finish his career with 894 goals, 1,963 assists, and 2,857 points for an average of 1.92 points per game in 1,487 games that he played. So absolutely, still to this day, this record holds. As of April 2024, when I visited the Hockey Hall of Fame, there's also Alex Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals that is 40 or so goals away from shattering that record that nobody thought could be beaten by set by Wayne Gretzky in his illustrious career. So we'll see in 2025, 2026 if Ovechkin actually beats that. Here we see Mark Messier, famous captain of the Edmonton Oilers as well when Gretzky left the team. Here we can see the Montreal locker room. So the Montreal Canadiens, as it was in 1993, the last time they won the Stanley Cup, they have the most Stanley Cup wins with 24 in the NHL. So this is what the locker room looked like. Of course, they also added a bunch of jerseys, skates, gloves, sticks from older hockey legends from the Montreal Canadiens, like Dickie Moore, Doug Harvey, Maurice Richard, of course, Howie Morenz, and the more modern legends as well, like Patrick Roy. So this gives you an idea of what the locker room looked like in their last championship win in 1993. I think it is pretty awesome. There's nice things written there on the top. as we see a jacket worn by Coach Toe Blake. He was very famous. So this is one of those teams, all sports combined, with some of the most championship rings or wins, if you want. Also in baseball, there's the Yankees, of course, but not many sports teams have won 20 or more championships. So that's pretty awesome. As we see Patrick Roy, our star goalie at the time, he won 2 Stanley Cups with the Montreal Canadiens and 2 more cups with the Colorado Avalanche when he was famously or infamously traded there. We can see some older things as well for those who like vintage, like probably some of the first generation sticks that you can see here, manufactured in 1876 by A.J. Spalding Brothers, this puck. So this is one of the earliest examples known to mankind of hockey, as we see some blades as well. It's just insane to see what the players were playing with at the time, and it's a very old sport that started in the 1800s. Here we see the original 6, a part of their stadiums, right? So the Maple Leaf Gardens, so the original 6 arenas. I think that was very, very cool to look at. We have the Chicago Stadium, another famous one. All 6 original teams are obviously super known, and they've been here for a while. Some, like the Montreal Canadiens, for over 100 years at this point. As we look at the Olympia of Detroit, another original 6 team, where Gordie Howe, of course, scored a lot of his goals. It's funny to see like stuff from the arenas, like the seats where people were sitting in back in the days. It's pretty insane to see all that. New York, also known as probably the most famous arena in the world. Look at the seats back then. That's insane. The Montreal Forum, of course, that closed and is now known as the Bell Center, so in another building. But yeah, I remember those seats as a young child attending hockey games and other sports venues or shows. So yeah, a trip down memory lane. Certainly if you have kids, go there. The Boston Garden, another famous building. I was told it was built a little closer to the ring, as it was also the place for boxing matches, so a more intimate kind of vibe. Apparently it's amazing. Here we see the evolution of equipment from players. So you can see from the early 1900s to the mid 60s all the way down to the modern equipment, how things have evolved. If you have a chance to go there with your kids, if you have a family, they will absolutely love this. Here we can see the evolution of goalie equipment as well. So I don't know how they were stopping pucks back then, but early 1900s to the mid 70s and 80s, of course, with those old brown pads that I remember as a kid growing up in the 80s. I was born in 1981. All the way to the modern stuff, which is, again, it's crazy to see all that evolution in the equipment. Of course, we all remember our days of gaming as kids, whether it was the Sega Genesis, whether it was Blades of Steel on Nintendo, whether it was NHL 94 on Super Nintendo. Days and days of fun with our friends and families, and my God. So again, a trip. Look at that, ice hockey and Blades of Steel back in the NES days. A nice little section for goalie masks. So today they have evolved to things where we see a lot of artwork on there. Absolutely amazing. But the guy that started it all was obviously famous Montreal Canadiens goalie Jacques Plante. And on November 1st, 1959, Jacques Plante became the first goalie to wear a mask. And it was made by a fiberglass salesman turned mask maker. So they have that original mask from his 1959 season for Jacques Plante there. So we can see how it all started. Goalies were receiving pucks in the face, and obviously a lot of damage could happen, right? So it's a good thing that this evolved to for them protecting their faces, obviously. So here we see left and right, 1959, Plante's first mask and his second mask from 1960. So I think that's pretty awesome. Next, we have the Golden Goal. On February 20th, 2010, at the Vancouver Olympics in Canada, Team Canada versus Team USA. So Sidney Crosby scored that golden goal to secure the gold medal for Team Canada, playing against against Team USA. So we had the mitts, the puck, and Sydney's Reebok stick that scored that golden goal. So a total population of 26.5 million Canadians watched at least part of the game, and that represents 80% of the entire country's population. So that gold medal game became the most watched television program in Canadian history. Here we have the 1972 Summit Series. We have the stick of Paul Henderson that scored the goal heard around the world in the last few seconds of Game 8 against Team Russia, a battle for hockey supremacy, where Canada actually won the series. Next, in the Great Hall, the most important part. This is actually the hall where all the Hockey Hall of Fame inductees are represented with their own plaques. This is an honor. It secures your legend for history and for everyone to see, obviously. So you can see the greats like Maurice Richard here. All of your favorite players that were inducted in the Hall of Fame are there. And of course, you're going to have the GOATs. Of course, Wayne Gretzky, the NHL's greatest point scorer of all time. Mario Lemieux, also arguably one of the best players ever. Peter Stastny. We have guys like Guy Lafleur. Obviously, the Stanley Cup. There are two Stanley Cups, the original. They're both original, I mean. So the one that is given to players, that's the Presentation Cup, and the one that stays at the museum. Here is the original Stanley Cup given by Lord Stanley. In 1893 is when the first team won. It was donated by Lord Stanley in 1892, but the first team ever awarded the Stanley Cup was the Montreal Amateur Athletic Association in 1893 in a 7-1 victory over the Ottawa Hockey Club. The Montreal Canadiens have won a record 24 of those Stanley Cups, one of the hardest trophies to get in all sports combined. You also have the individual player awards like the Maurice Rocket Richard giving to the league's top goal scorer. Here we have the Art Ross Trophy given to the player with the most total points in a regular season. Next, we have the Conn Smythe Trophy. That's awarded to the playoffs MVP or most valuable player. We also have the Hart Memorial Trophy. That's given to the regular season most valuable player or the MVP. Here we have the Vezina Trophy for the league's best goaltender. Also, the Williams Jennings Trophy, awarded to the goalie or pair of goalies with the fewest goals scored against them during the regular season. We have the President's Trophy. This is a coveted one for the team with the best regular season record. 2024, it was given to the New York Rangers. Next, we have the Jack Adams Trophy. This is for the Coach of the Year. Another very important one, right? We also have the Clarence Campbell Trophy. That is for the playoff champion in the Western Conference. So last year it was the Vegas Golden Knights. We have the Prince of Wales Trophy for the playoff champion in the Eastern Conference. Last year it was for the Florida Panthers. Next, we have the Ted Lindsay Award for the most outstanding player as voted by his peers. We have the James Norris Trophy awarded to the best defenseman. We have the Calder Memorial Trophy awarded to the rookie of the year. This year is probably going to be Connor Bedard for 23-24. We have the Frank Selke Trophy for the forward that excels in defense. Next, we have the Lady Byng Memorial Trophy for best sportsmanship and gentlemanly conduct. The Bill Masterton Trophy for qualities of perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to hockey. The King Clancy Memorial Trophy for the player that best exemplifies leadership on and off the ice. So there you have it, folks. My visit in 2024 to the Hockey Hall of Fame. It was well worth the price of admission, $25 Canadian per person, by the way. If you have an opportunity to visit Toronto one day and you love hockey, you absolutely have to go there. So thanks for being there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.